Hello and welcome. My name is Kudakwashi Matambo, and here at Jesuit Communications, we talk about the issues that affect you, that affect us within the church and in the community. And today we are talking to a child protection and safeguarding expert, and we want to try and understand more about child protection and safeguarding and how it affects or enhances our living as faith people at the faithful, and also how it impacts our lives in the community. And today, to discuss this topic, we have Theresa Sanyatwe, who is an expert and who has been working in the church and within the country. Welcome, Theresa.
Thank you, Kuda.
Explain to us, what exactly is child protection and safeguarding? What are the differences? Is it the one and the same thing, or what are the differences between child protection and safeguarding?
Okay, thank you. Safeguarding and protection, they're similar, but there's a thin line difference between the two. When we are looking at safeguarding, we are looking at prevention. So we are trying to put structures and measures which prevent any type of abuse to happen to a minor or an adult. When we look at protection, in many cases, the abuse would have happened, but we take measures to protect so that the abuse will not happen again. So it will go back to safeguarding as well. So we are moving with safeguarding so much in order to say prevention is better than cure.
Mm-hmm. So already when you say protection and the abuse has already happened here, there are many beneficiaries, there are many stakeholders involved. Who is our target beneficiary? Who do we focus on when we talk about protection and safeguarding?
In general, I can say everybody is a beneficiary. Our society, our nation, our families, everybody is a beneficiary. But if we look at specific groups, which we say they are more vulnerable, we are looking at minors, children, directly children. Yes.
Okay. And I mean, just for clarity's sake, who is a minor?
Thank you. A minor is anyone who is below the age of 18. The Constitution of Zimbabwe defines a child as a boy or a girl below the age of 18, whereas the convention, UNCRC, United Nations Convention on the Rights and Welfare of the Children, 1989, defines a child as any human being below the age of 18.
Mm-hmm. But you also talk about vulnerable adults or vulnerable people in general. And how do you define that?
Okay, let me look at the definition of vulnerable adults within the Catholic Church. The canon law and the new laws, they define a vulnerable adult as anyone who cannot reason on himself or herself. So we are looking at people with mental challenges, people with different disabilities, and the elderly. So anyone who is in a vulnerable situation, even the poor. So vulnerable adult is someone who is in a vulnerable situation whereby anyone can take advantage of him or her.
Okay. Why child protection and safeguarding now? Why the emphasis now?
Yes, the emphasis seems to be now, but safeguarding didn't start now. It has been there. It has been there trying to protect the humanity, if I can say, to protect us as human beings, because we have a purpose to be here. But why now? Because of different forms of technologies, industrialization, and many people are engaged in different things. So we are realizing that the abuses of minors is escalating every day because of the situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so there have been issues internationally, locally, regionally about how the church has responded to issues to do with protection and rehabilitation or helping people who have been abused before. And how do you assess the church's response in terms of child protection and safeguarding, especially in terms of raising awareness and also actually, making sure that institutions are capacitated? How do you respond? How do you assess the church's response to that?
Okay, thank you. I believe when you talk about the church here, I'm looking specifically at Catholic. The church is trying its best to respond to the situation by training people, experts. If you look at Gregorian universities offering child safeguarding courses, trying to empower professionals who deal with these cases from the professional point of view. So we are saying formation is trained by training. Priests, sisters, the lay people, young people are trained, so already to capacitate them so that they understand what is an abuse and what is not an abuse and where to report the abuse. So from that formation point of view, I can say church is doing that something. Then besides
Can you
that,
say the same thing about our own local universities, church universities?
Yes, like Arupe Jesuit University is offering some courses in safeguarding. And if you look, most of the universities, not even Catholic only, but even other national or public universities, if I can call them, they're offering something similar to safeguarding, like policy making, children's rights, all that is looking towards safeguarding minors. So let me add that besides the formation part, there are structures which this church is putting in place. You realize that in each diocese or at each parish, there are safeguarding representatives. So these structures help people to know where to report an abuse. And in addition, there are policies in place. So all these are the efforts to try to eradicate the scourge of abuse within the church sector.
You personally have been training different groups of people within the church, and have been involved in the policy making. Do you think we are there? Have we made it in terms of putting the structures in place, in terms of responding if anything is to happen now? Are we there yet?
I'm quite hesitant to say, are we there or to rate that? But what I can say is a journey, because life is dynamic. New challenges are coming. So we are never there, because each time we realize new problems are arising. What I can say, the efforts are there. We are trying by training, as I say, formation, putting structures in place. So it's a journey. We haven't reached there.
The country right now is grappling with this national crisis, if we can term it that way, of drug use and abuse, especially amongst children and young people. There have been cases reported. Not that it's happening now, it's been happening for a long time, but now it's come to a spotlight. Schools, young people are abusing drugs in and out of institutions, and sometimes in uniform, and there have been videos circulating, or sometimes young people abusing drugs whilst in uniform. How do we respond to this? What sort of a crisis are we in?
I really acknowledge that there's a scourge of drug and substance abuse within our nation. And how do we respond? It's interesting to think of specific methods of responding. But from my personal point of view, I think it needs everyone to be involved, not to leave it to maybe law enforced agents only, or to wait to report.
Because it's not just a criminal issue.
Exactly, yeah. So because it touches also mental health issues and other issues. Hence, I can say the first spot of call should be family. Families should be able to monitor their children, to understand their children, to understand the problem. Because what we are doing here is to try to respond to a result without going back to the cause, to the root cause. What is leading these young people to engage in these drugs? Is it because of some crisis within some family setups? Or is it just peer pressure? So we need to understand the cause. If we do not understand the cause, we do nothing. So,
Yeah, but you mentioned the family as a strong unit. I know as the church we say the family is the first church, is the first cell where somebody is formed. But some parents will say they don't know. How does parenting styles? Yeah, you have published articles about parenting in the 21st century. How does parenting in particular affect the behavior of young people or children?
yeah, indeed, in my article on the challenges of parenting in the 21st century, I pointed out that many people in the 21st century, men, and women or parents are going for work. So they're busy hunting for money or something else, but at the expense of their children. Some parents who are well up, they pamper their children with the gadgets, with the money and the thing that is parenting. So I think parenting is giving attention to the children. And the parenting styles, different parenting styles are laissez-faire, whereby hands off, we just leave children to do what they want, they decide without some controls. It's also a danger. And even the strictness, sometimes parents become so strict that they lock the jurors and they think they've done it well. And only to realize that even children, they're buying those drugs online.
And I mean, and some parents have also, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, some parents don't even know that their children are involved in this. And maybe it's happening between the family and their learning institutions, but then it's also happening within the learning institutions. Do you think our schools have the capacity to fully respond to this crisis?
Now, if we look at this, the gap between the family and the learning institution, it means there's no clear communication between the two. If a parent is not aware of what his or her child is doing, it means the parent is not observant. The parent doesn't have much time with their children because definitely you know the character of the children. Then when we look at the learning institution, if the learning institution have observed something, there should be some communication between the learning institution and the parents in order to help the minor. Yes, but capacity, whether our institutions are capacitated, that's the question, isn't it? I feel that the rise of drug and substance abuse, like catching people in shock with surprises. People are not well trained. They don't know how to handle these cases, these issues. So it's try and error sometimes, which can even cause more harm.
So how best do we prepare institutions? How best can institutions respond? Because you are saying it's try and error, and so how best can institutions respond, especially in terms of helping the young people who are involved in this crisis?
Yeah, from my thinking, I feel that the institutions should have trained the people. I believe in Zimbabwe, each school has some counselors, guidance counseling teachers who are trained in this. Maybe to capacitate them more, giving more information to them. But unfortunately, we realize that these teachers are loaded with other curriculums that at the end of the day, they are burnout. They cannot manage to deal with these cases. So in these cases, I think there's a need to have social workers or trained people who dedicate themselves fully to that, besides having other responsibilities.
Okay. I mean, so you are suggesting that schools must have professional counselors,
Yes.
social workers that can help, psychologists
Yes.
that can help
Yes.
young people. There is young people out there, are discussing different ways of how to deal with this, and some are blaming, the abolition of beating up children in schools or at home. Could this be one of the reasons why young people are involved in drugs now or behaving in an unusual way? Like, I mean, some say karekedu zvainkwanga kusina zvakadai. So is that one of the reasons why young people might be behaving that way?
I do not think using stick or rod is the medicine to this. Because there, if we look at the researches, this problem has been there. But like in Zimbabwe, it has escalated because of COVID-19. It's when we realized, because everybody was settled, it's when we realized, there's something happening. But it doesn't mean it wasn't there. It was there. And where was the stick? The stick was there. So the stick for me is not a solution. If the stick was a solution, wouldn't they have people in our prisons? Because the same person who is wearing a tie, maybe a teacher or a doctor, went through a stick. The person who is in the prison went through the stick. So can we say a stick is a solution? But I think the problem is that we do not have other alternative discipline measures. Hence, we want to retreat to something which is cheaper and easier. And if you beat a child easily forgets the pain. Once the pain is gone, the child will continue doing the same, or they become rebellious. That's why I have domestic violence, because they think that's the solution of dealing with the cases. Even the violence in our streets, they think that's the solution because that's the model which we have given them. But I think we need to learn other alternative ways of discipline, like counseling, talking with the child, make the child know where he has done or she has done or gone wrong.
Thank you, Theresa. I think in the next episodes, we'll talk about these models, the alternatives, the remedial actions that we can do. But in conclusion, what is your advice to community leaders, to responsible authorities, to people, parents in families, and those who are responsible for young people, for children? What is your advice to them?
My advice is that from the proverb, it takes the whole village to raise a child. Let's be responsible. Everyone should be involved, whether it's your child or not. Not to use this proverb, it takes the whole village to abuse the child. The whole village can gather to abuse the child. In which way? Like we're talking about the scourge of drug and substance abuse. Who is providing them? Who is bringing them to young people? It's us. So at the end of the day, we are suffering the consequences of our doing. We are building our own savages. So the community should be gathering together to think of the ways to prevent our young people from engaging in all this, because this is our today and the future.
And to the young people?
To the young people, please, you have only one life and only one life. And there's no time to experiment with your life. Once you spoil it, it's gone. There's no second chance.
Okay, thank you very much, Theresa, and thank you, the viewers. There you have it. You only have one life, and we also have to participate in making sure that we create safe environment and safe spaces for children and young people. Please do continue to follow us as we bring you more programs at Jesuit Communications. For now, it's bye.